So welcome to this next video in the tutorial, and today we're going to start learning about particle effects. So in this file I've got the zombie rig that was released by Sony. This character is in, which film was it, Hotel Transylvania, and obviously a ton of curves. You can see this has been a professional rig that's been created and for us to use for free to practice with, which will be really cool for your sort of future portfolios. So I've created a jump sequence. I'm just going to check my settings, make sure I'm on real time. Okay, and as you can see, it's got a really casual jump. And what we're going to do is add some particle effects to the feet to give the impression that is either leaving like some magic dust, or I think how we're going to do it today is some sort of flames pushing him up. Although if that was the case, the force would be slightly different on the jump. But yeah, as a sort of entry point to particle effects, I don't think it really matters too much. So first things first, we're going to swap our camera around to the perspective, and as you can see, the rig actually has some errors in it which we can't move with these items here, and this item here I've made, and this is going to be useful in your in the second lesson for the particle effects. So first things first, I'm going to turn back on the NURBS curves so we can see where the feet are. And there's a couple of things that we're going to discuss about setting this up. So first thing, we're going to go to the Effects tab, okay, and what we want to do is go to Particles, and we want to go to Create Emitter. I don't think it matters which one, so we'll just select the emitter. We'll get the settings box up, and we'll just go reset settings, and we will change this to a directional emitter, and we will keep them, we'll keep them where they are for now, and we'll click create, and we'll see we have this emitter, and no matter how much I zoom in, it constantly shrinks, and that's just the way it is. So if we go to the outliner, you can see that we've created a couple of objects. So the first thing is we have an emitter. The second thing is the particle. So the emitter allows us to have emitter particle. The particle is the sort of box shape that will determine and reference our sort of particles as they release. And we should have a nucleus being made. So let's just play this, see if anything happens. So we have got some parts coming out, as you can see, very, very subtly through there, and they're travelling along. Okay, so the first things first, what we're going to do is we are going to work through the settings. So we can either do this through the attribute editor, or we can do this through the what do you call it, the channel box. And I think for today we're just going to go through the attribute editor, and we're just going to go through some of the settings. So we're going to turn on scale by speed, which will mean the faster we move, the smaller the smaller that will get, or sort of bigger that will get. And we'll keep that setting there. And obviously at the moment they're travelling in the X axis, and we want them to travel behind the character. So this way, which will be, if you push W, you will see once it loads, there we go, you'll see this is the Z axis, that is in plus, so that will be in minus. So if we take our direction there to 0, take our Z to -1. What should happen from this point is it emits from, now it's travelling in this direction, which is great. So I'm going to turn the speed up to 2, just so it happens a little bit quicker, and you can see they're travelling a lot further now as a result, and we may tweak that a bit later on. And if we scroll down, we can change the particle colour, but we'll come back to that. Okay, so the next stage is to go to our particle shape, and what we're going to do is just work through some of these settings. So we're going to scroll down, we'll keep all these the same, we don't need to change any of those. Now our lifespan mode will allow us to change how long these particles live. If we want them to live forever, what that basically means is they will never die, they will never die off, they will never stop ceasing to exist. Okay, you can sort of see those dots down there, so they won't stop to exist. And essentially what we want is our particles to die off. Okay, our particle shape. So we want to change this to a constant, and their lifespan will be on 1, which means they will live up until 1, then they'll die off. Okay, it's very, very uniformed. And if we want to randomize that, when we can change that to random range, but I think we'll keep it for constant for now. And our we'll keep collision off, soft body, yeah, we don't need any of these. And okay, so at the moment you'll see these points, and no matter how much I zoom in, those points get smaller every time I get closer. So again, no matter how close I get, they just get tinier and tinier, but we can't see them. So we're going to change the points to a cloud. Okay, so there are many different things that we can use, but we're going to create a cloud. Now as you can see, that's looking pretty big, and that's exactly the sort of effects we're going to go for. So with our cloud, the first thing we're going to do is add a opacity attribute, and we want to apply this to per particle. So each one of these rings, each one of these has its own basically blend system, its own map attached to it, which we're going to talk through in a second. So I'm going to click add attribute, and then I'm going to right click, and we're going to go to create ramp. Okay, and if we right click again, and this drop arrow will come up, and we go to edit ramp, you will see that from this point over here to this point over here, white is the visible value of the opacity, which means we can see it, and the black is going to be our sort of basically dead. It's completely opaque and we can't see it. So we're going to swap these over, which means now when we play, the front is now the visible point, and the back is now the dead one. As you can see, it doesn't appear to start that way. Maybe I had that the wrong way around after all. Okay, let's go back and edit ramp. Oh, wrong one. Let's select that again. Let's just go back to, got it on here, ramp 2, there we go. So let's change it the other way. Let's just double check that. It may have saved my settings from before. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so it saved my settings from before in terms of which way around they were. So yeah, so it starts off really bright, and obviously as it fades out towards the end, it gets shorter. Okay, and the second thing we want to do, so if we go back to our particle, we want to go back to, let's keep going along, particle shape, and we also want to add in a color map. Okay, and we also want to add that per particle. Okay, so in RGB PP, we're going to go in and we're going to create another ramp, and we're going to right click and go to edit ramp, and this time we're going to change the colors. So to change the color, we select the top side of the ramp, and we're going to change that to, I think, a yellow will work, and this end we're going to change that to a red, and if we want to add another one in, we can just click on, and I'm going to bring that orange right close up. We just want the red to be at the very end. Okay, and as you can see, we now have that fire happening and burning out, but obviously these are the wrong way round. We would prefer to have the yellow flame at the end and the more intense burning at the source of the action. So I'm going to right click again. I'm going to go to edit ramp, and I'm going to swap these around. So I'm going to bring the red up there, bring the yellow back over here, and just bring that up. And if we play that again now, we will see a much better finish. Okay, and the next stage is to just double check all of those. I think I'm happy with all of that. We just double check our emitter. We go to our rate. Yep, they're at 100. I think we're going to increase our speed to about 5. I think we'll get a nice sort of length on that then. Yep. And we can change our spread as well. Okay, which is kind of cool. Makes it more flammable. Okay, gives it a bit more of an angle. And I think what we need to do is, I think I might increase the speed to about 10. I think. So if we do the speed to 10. Now obviously the reason that this is not travelling very far at the moment is because the nucleus isn't moving, which means that these particles aren't being dragged along the space. And you'll see when we attach this nucleus to the ankle that that spread will change very quickly. Okay, so I'm going to go to frame 1, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to parent this nucleus to this control. So I'm going to hold V, and I'm going to drag that right down to there to snap it at that bone joint. And so from now on, when we select this, we'll have to do it from this section here. And I'm going to hold Shift and select our joint, and I'm going to push P to parent it towards it. Okay, so when we push play now, as you can see, that jump happens. Now a couple of things. You'll see that we have an issue in that our jump's happening really straight. It looks really weird, and the reason for this is because firstly my foot slides back on the jump, and secondly, because the timeline is playing to speed and not to frame, it's not calculating every frame, so the jump's happening in real time. But if we turn it to play every frame, our jump will be slower, but our dynamic flow will be more accurate. Okay, so you can see it's a little bit softer this time. Okay, and obviously if you wanted to perfect that, you can always add an arc and animate your foot keyframe, add more keyframes into the feet to give them that nice curve. Okay, so with our jump, the way we're going to have this is that when he initially moves, so it's not going to light up at this point, it's going to start here, it's going to push up, and it's going to cut out around there. Okay, and so to do that, we need to get back to our emitter. So I'm going to hold Shift, and it will open everything up. And if you scroll right down to the bottom, and as you can see how many joints and connections there are in this scene, we're going to go and find the feet. And the way we can do that is to select our joint, and it will select it up here. And obviously, we can then find where our emitter is, which is here. So with our emitter selected, we are going to add in, go to our attribute editors, and we're going to we're going to go to our channel box, and we're going to basically keyframe this attribute, the rate that these come out per second or per frame or whichever is, I think it's per second. And so what we're going to do is up until frame 10, I want it to be on 0. It shouldn't be emitting anything. So I'm going to key that selection. Then on frame 11, we're going to go back to 100. Okay. And we're going to right click and go to key selected. So we're right clicking, we're not pushing S, because we only want this channel keyed. We don't want to influence anything else or lock anything else or block anything else. Then on the jump, we're going to go up, and around frame 17, I think that's where it stops. Yep, around frame 17, I want it to go back to 0, so that'll be the last point. So I'm going to keyframe that, and then at 18, we're going to type 0, and we're going to key that selection. So what we're going to do is, let's quickly play this now. There's a really cool sort of die off, which I really like. So especially with the smoke. And the only thing that I'm quite cautious of, that I would like to do, is to increase the size of the actual smoke. So if we go to let's go back to the attribute editor. I can't remember exactly where that attribute is, so let's just have a quick look through. Serve count, that's the emission attributes, lifespan, being weight. So again, it might just take me a while. I might have to just pause this and go and have a look how to change the size, because it's gone from my memory, which isn't great. So yeah, I think I might need to just check the emitter. We've got speed, we've got the spread. We just can't find the size. Okay, give me a second and I'll be back. Okay, so the way we do it is go down to, in your particle shape, scroll down to render attributes, and you need to click the current render type to reveal the menu. And once it's loaded, we can then change the radius. So I'm going to go for about a 5. And as you can see, it looks a lot more powerful as a result. But I want to, but it's probably a bit too much, so I'll go to 2 or 2.5 actually. We'll halve it. Just see how that looks. Okay, that's a little better. So again, I want to add this onto the other foot as well, but this time it's going to involve, we can't just duplicate the emitter. It just won't work that way. I mean, I can try again, but I'm fairly sure every time I've done this it never works. So let's play again, and yep, it doesn't work. And I believe that is because it hasn't created the particle box. Okay, so it doesn't create that, which means it's not going to create any particles. So basically, to get the same thing again, we're going to repeat the task. So we're going to go to particles, going to go to create emitter, which will bring it up into the middle. On our emitter, we're going to just scroll through, keep all of these how they are. I think we had our speed at 5, and we had our spread at so we had our speed at 10, our spread at 0, 151. So that's at 10, 151. We then changed this to -1 to change the direction flow of the particles, and once we have that setting there, I think that's that one done. So then through this, we kept the top settings, we changed this to constant with a lifespan of 5, I think, or was it 1? It might have been 1. Let's just double check with our particle shape 2, our particle shape 1 I should say. Yeah, that was on 1. And as we go through, we kept these the same. We changed our points to clouds. Then we get current render type. We can change our radius to 2.5. And then what we did was add in an opacity, add that per particle, then right click, get the create ramp, right click again, go to edit ramp, and we had it in this order. Just go particle 1. Let's just double check. Yep. And if we go back to this, then we added in our color, and again added it per particle. Then right click on the RGB PP that appears, create ramp, right click again, edit ramp, and it should remember your colors. So we can go in, and we had red, and we had yellow, and then we added this one in, and we sort of clicked there, around there, and pulled that up. And once we'd done that, if we just push play, yep, we should see a similar effect. So what we're going to do is now select that emitter, hold down V, drag V to the heel of the foot, hold shift and select the control, push P to parent it, and what should happen now is that jump, except we need to we've missed one of the values out clearly, so let's just go back into our emitter. There's emitter 1, there's emitter 2, so if we just go back, and we just go to the channel box. First thing we need to do obviously is set those keyframes again, so we can set that at 11, and I think it's 17, and then either side we can set that at 0. So remember to right click and go to key selected, so we're not keyframing everything. And play that again, just make sure that's starting okay. Yep. So the next step is obviously the quantity of particles that it's letting out by the looks of it. So it's on 100 on the right, and if we just flip between that and the first emitter, so got speed 10, speed 10, spread's the same, and I think it's this here, use the right, yeah, okay, right. If we go back to our attribute editor, and if we get the lifespan mode, let's just double check that on the first one. Yeah, it's 1. Yeah, we did check that, didn't we? Let's just check on the particle. Scale rate by speed. There we go. That's what it was. We didn't tick that on, which means as it gets faster, it increases the output. So let's play that. Yep. And there we have it. I think that red's probably a bit too much at the beginning, so I might decide to get rid of that at a later date. So I'm just going to hide my NURBS curves, go back to the camera 1, and then you can see we now have a jump with this cool sort of smoke like effect leaving the feet, which is really bizarre given it's a zombie. So in the next video I'm going to show you how to turn these streaks into stars, which just requires a little bit more editing. It's not much really, it shouldn't take us too long. So I hope you've sort of found that useful, a bit fun, and hopefully you can play around with some of those points and change some of the content so it's not just clouds, there are other effects within that. But also you can add your own geometry, as you'll see in the next video. So